Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. Jason here. Today I have a playthrough of the granddaddy of them all, my favorite game, Pandemic. This is the first in a series of videos that I'm going to do where I will play through every expansion, all the modules that are included in basic Pandemic. This video will feature the original game, no expansion content, no nothing. Original characters going around, going to the different cities, eliminating diseases, trying to mitigate the spread of disease in these 4 different areas, while trying to collect cards that represent the cure for the disease. Will I make it in time before disease ravages the land? So this is the basic game. This has been out since 2008, so 15 years. I imagine most of the people watching this video or who are subscribed to the One Stop Co-op Shop are familiar. So for this first video, I'm going to do a little bit of a twist. I'm going to challenge myself to eradicate all 4 diseases throughout this game. I've selected a dream team of characters, the medic, the scientist, and the researcher, and I want to end the game with not a single cube of disease left on the board and all 4 diseases eradicated. So that should be fun. However, there also might be new people who are watching this, so I'm going to include a tutorial, very, very basic, of original Pandemic. So I will include that all for you in this video. But let me tell you about the One Stop Co-op Shop. We are a veritable gaming empire. We have our YouTube channel and our streaming channel, so go ahead and like the video, subscribe to both channels. We have our Discord, which is the center of our community where we're discussing all sorts of solo and co-op games, new games, old games, collectibles, new hotness, old favorites, so many things that we discuss in the Discord. You can join for free. We do have a Patreon if you want to contribute a little bit extra, but the community is completely free to join. Also, check out our podcast twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays. Sundays is game-centric content, and Wednesdays are special topics as well. So without further ado, I'm super excited. Let me go ahead and show you how Pandemic plays and then do the elimination challenge for you. As you can see, the entire world is split up into 4 zones, 12 cities apiece. You have the Southern Hemisphere, Africa, and South America represented here in yellow. Blue is represented by North America and Europe. Black is more Central Europe and Northern Africa. And red is the East and Australia. All right, so let's go through the very basics of how you play a game of Pandemic. Every player is going to have a character that will be represented on the board by these pawns. These pawns are scientists. Every pawn has a card attached to it, a role card, which gives them a special power. But I will save the special powers for a little bit later in the instructional. These actions that I'm about to just demonstrate, everybody can do. On your turn, you're going to get 4 actions. And the simplest action that you can take is to clear disease. So then if I was white, I would go 1. Point-to-point movement happens along these lines. For a second move, I can go down here. Nothing happens to you when you enter the disease ravaged zone. In fact, the denizens are, yay, you're here. You're a scientist. You're helping us. Please cure some disease. That was 2 actions to arrive in Mexico City. I can use a 3rd action to clear a cube, and I can use a 4th action to keep on clearing cubes. I can clear as many cubes as I have actions. Generally, you're going to want to target clusters of 3 because they're the most dangerous, and I'll explain why in a second. But again, if you are looking for things to do on your turn, go ahead and find the biggest cluster of diseases possible and break them up. That's always a good thing to do. So along with the point-to-point movement, sometimes you're going to want to go a bit faster because you have an entire board to manage. This is a world-spanning adventure. So you have a couple of options in order to get around the board a little bit quicker. So let's say I was the researcher and it is their turn, and I wanted to get over here more quickly than if I walked. So if I went 1, 2, 3, 4, I could I could mitigate some cubes, but I wouldn't get there very fast. I have a couple of options. I will consult my hand of cards. There are 48 cards total, 1 card for every city on the board, and 12 cards of each color. So I would look and I would say, ooh, I have the London card. So I'm going to discard the London card and take a direct flight right there. So that is 1 action, and I could use 2, 3 to remove these London cubes. So that is a much faster action. Another option I have besides a direct flight is I can take a charter flight. If I'm in the city that matches a card that I have in my hand, I can discard that card and go anywhere. So let's say I wanted to join White for whatever reason, I could do that. Or if I wanted to go and head to London, I could do that as well. Any city on the board is reachable with a charter flight having the matching city. The last option for movement I have is called a shuttle flight, and I will need a research station for that. So let's say I took my charter flight and I was able to land in London. So then if I have the London card, I can also discard that and create a research station in London. You're going to want to do that because that makes point-to-point movement very easy. So then once I have 2 research stations, I could take a shuttle flight and move between those 2 without discarding anything. So those are the options for movement around the board. I have progressed the game state a little bit. We are running around. I got a research station here in Sao Paulo. Got some cubes over there, but managing them as much as possible. But that is only half the game. The goal of Pandemic is to cure the diseases. Here are the 4 cure markers, and that is what I'm going to try to earn. The only way to win Pandemic is to get these 4 cures. So you do that by collecting sets of cards. At the end of every turn, you're going to be pulling from this city deck. These cards represent the different city cards. Along the way, characters are going to be collecting sets of the same color. Once a character has 5 of a color, they can go to a research station, discard the cards, and cure the disease. You can go to any research station. It doesn't have to be in the same zone. So if I go to any research station, I could cure a disease. Now, that's hard. So the game gives you a couple of tools, especially the share knowledge action. For an action on your turn, you can freely trade the city card as long as the person trading with you is in the same city. So they're both in Bogota. The scientist happens to have Bogota, and they can give it to the medic. That is give or take. The card can transfer freely between characters, but that is one action per transfer, give or take. Now my medic has 5 cards. They can go down to the city and they can use an action to discover cure. Yay! I have now cured yellow and I have achieved a cure right there. That is a stupendous thing that happens throughout the game. So that's important for treating diseases because on any future turn, a character, any character, no matter what the pawn is, can go, if they treat a disease, then they remove all the cubes of that disease. So it becomes easier to treat. So you want to prioritize getting cures as fast as possible. On a future turn, the researcher can say, hey, wait a minute, this is the last yellow cube around. They can use an action, remove a cube, and then the disease becomes eradicated. If cubes were to be added on the board in the yellow zone for an eradicated disease, they don't get added. You might as well just not be in here at all. That is an essential thing I want to do for the eradication challenge that I will do later in the playthrough. The end of your turn, as I said, you will draw 2 cards. So you've spent your 4 actions or spend up to 4 actions. You don't have to spend all 4, but generally you want to. So then I will draw my 2 cards. Generally there will be a city card, but sometimes a card like this will come up, which is a special event. There are 2 in the deck per player. So in this 3-player game, I'm going to have 6 events in there. This is basically an exception. It does a very, very powerful ability. Once per game, you discard it, and then you don't see it again. But there are things like, remove extra cubes on the board or dig cards out of the discard, something that can really help your game. So that is one of the things that you can draw from the city deck at the end of your turn. Once you have finished drawing your cards at the end of your turn, it is the game's turn to fight back, and it does so through the infection deck. The infection deck is how the board populates with all those nasty cubes that you are trying to deal with from turn to turn. You'll consult this track. It begins at 2. As the game goes on, it will get worse. But right now, I'm going to pull 2 cards from the infection deck, and this happens after every single player turn. So then I would pull a city card. So I got Shanghai over here. I'd pull a cube from the supply and add it to the city. And then for my second card, I would do Baghdad right there. Not only do you have to worry about the regular infection deck pulls, every once in a while you will pull one of these cards, an epidemic card. Depending on the difficulty level, you might have more or less in there. For an introductory game, you have about 4, and then 5 is normal, and then 6 and 7 for you insane people. Anyway, so it goes through a couple of steps to make the board worse, fight back against you a little bit more viciously. First thing that would happen is that you would move the tracker 1 over. So I'd still pull 2, but you could see that it will increase as the game goes on, 3 and then 4. That's no good. And then you would pull from the bottom of the deck and put 3 cubes wherever that city card is. So in this case, it would be Kolkata, so that's something that you have to watch for. And this is probably the most savage of all. Every city that has landed in there, so cities that you know have cubes, if you have not treated them yet, you'll shuffle them up, put them on top, and then you would go and continue to pull cards as you were before. If an infection card matches a place that has 3 cubes, remember I mentioned before that you wanted to prioritize breaking up cities that have 3 cubes. This is why. So then I'm going to go ahead and pull a card. It is Beijing. Wham! You do not add a cube to Beijing. Instead, you do what is called an outbreak, and you would move cubes all over the place. So it's like pow, going all over the place. Beijing is not so bad, but there are cities with more points of connection. Like if there was an explosion in Hong Kong, it would go to all 6 of these areas. So you're probably wondering, well, what happened if I got this Beijing card and it made a city explode into an area that also had 3 cubes? You guessed it, a chain outbreak. So then Beijing would pop, and then Shanghai would pop as well. And that would be bad because that has more city connections. It would not chain back of itself, so that it would just add cubes to where there hasn't already been cubes affected by this original explosion. But that is bad because, as you can see, I'm starting to run out of red cubes. One of the lose conditions of the game is to run out of these cubes. If I ever have to pull from the supply and I don't have any cubes in the supply, then I lose a game of Pandemic. For every outbreak, I would progress this marker. And if I had chain outbreaks, I would have to progress it twice. If I were to ever reach this last area, I've suffered 8 outbreaks. That is another of the lose conditions of Pandemic. The final lose condition of Pandemic, I will be using cards, drawing cards, discarding cards, but eventually I will run out of cards. And if I have to pull from a player deck and there are no cards left here, then that is the final lose condition of Pandemic. But we're not going to think about losing, are we? We're going to think about winning. We're going to get those cubes. We're going to get some eradication. We're going to save the world. Beautiful. The last thing I'll talk about helping you to win the game are the player powers. So then every character is going to be able to do that suite of moves, movement and treating and curing. And then every character is going to have a special thing that they can do. So the scientist only needs 4 cards in order to cure a disease. That's very powerful. Everything is pretty powerful. The medic is able to remove all diseases with the treat action, and then they have a little bit of extra benefit when they're dealing with a cured disease. And there are lots of different characters to explore along the way as well, and the expansions add more. I've chosen this team of 3 because it's kind of a dream team. If I want to engage in this eradication challenge, these are 3 optimal characters. It's still difficult. I don't do it every time, but I'm going to give it my best shot for everybody. I am ready to begin an eradication challenge game of Pandemic. So I have trouble spots here, and I also have a 3 cube cluster right there. A little known, overlooked rule in Pandemic is how to pick the first player. It's actually every player checks their cards, and whoever has the highest population on the card is the first player. So in this particular case, in the Karachi has 20 million population, or at least Pakistan does, and therefore it is the first player because the medic beats everybody else with his card. Look at that. And so, fireman that he is, the medic will blast off and land in Karachi using that direct flight, and then go to Baghdad. And then the medic's special power is 1 treat action removes all the cubes. Only the medic can do that, and then I'm going to end my turn in Karachi. So that was 1, fly here, 2, move here, clean, and then move back to Karachi. The end of the turn, the medic draws some cards and has, not bad, 3 cards over here. That's not bad. Normally, I would not use the medic at all for curing. It would just be focused on treating. However, I am playing with the researcher. The researcher's special power is that they can share knowledge of any card, not just the city card. Give and take. So then if the researcher gets 2 red cards, then the medic is sitting pretty for a fast cure, like that. All right, so let's check out the infection deck. We got 1 infection in Buenos Aires, right down here. And then we have an infection in Seoul, in China. Nope, Seoul is not in China. It is in Korea. All right, so now we get to the scientist who knows her role. So then she has these cards over here. May not need that red one, but the blue one, and just in case I get that early cure for blue, might have a good draw there. So then I'm just going to stick around, not discard any cards to fly, and then move over to Miami, and then use 3 treat actions to remove all the cubes in Miami. All right, so now we're going to draw for the scientist. Here we go. All right, we got 2 red and a yellow. I'm very excited about yellow, and I'll show you why in just a second, or perceptive pandemic players will figure out what I'm up to now, but I'll show you in just a minute. All right, once again, we span the world with our infection deck. We have Tokyo right there, and we are going down back to South America and Lima. All right, time to execute my master plan. The researcher is going to completely forget about the rest of the board. That happens, and then they are going to give, share knowledge. 3 cards, they can share any city card. They're going to give it to the scientist, who now has 4 cards for a very early cure of yellow. The scientist now has 8 cards. There's a 7 card maximum for your hand, so they're going to discard a red because it looks like the medic has enough red for now. And then I'm going to pull from the deck with the researcher because their turn is over. They get a red. That's nice. Wow, I've gotten some priority cards quick, but I got my epidemic. Oh no! I didn't clean all 3, all the clusters yet, so hopefully I don't get boned with this pop over here. All right, so let's see what we have coming out of the deck. It is Paris. Paris gets the infect. And then I shuffle all these cards so that all of the cities are going to come up again when I do my infections. All right, we now have Lima, unfortunately, which is going to get a cube. Not so bad. But then, boom! Paris! Oh no! Gets the unfortunate explosion. And then Paris is a pretty bad one because it has 5 points of connection. Medic's turn is easy. They are not going to let Delhi explode at all or outbreak. They're going to go there, move there, and then they're going to park in red. Eventually going to try to set up a research station so that the researcher could come and help the medic out. Let's go ahead and draw 2 cards and know they're safe. Ooh, look at that. I'm getting some quick red over here. I have to get the medic to a treatment station, but I think that I'm setting up pretty good. I should have moved this over. It is still 2, but just to make sure that everything is in line. So that we got that infection marker. Now I'm going to get a cube in Tokyo and a cube in Madrid. And there is 3, and ooh, oh no. See, this is the thing. So I want to be able to, the medic to, kind of concentrate and get red taken care of, but I think the medic is very much needed in this area. We'll see what happens. All right, at least I can achieve a little bit of success. So we're going to go ahead and move back to the research station, and we are going to get a very early cure. 4 cards because it's a scientist of yellow. Observe, I have a lot of cubes over here, and it's the medic that is usually responsible for clearing all of the treatment diseases. Now I can show you this. Their second power, the medic's second power, is automatically remove cubes of cure diseases from the city you are in. If you move in there, then he would just sweep it without using an action. So then that's how you do the eradication challenge. You get that medic to hoover everything up, but the medic has a lot of responsibility. No. So that was just 2 actions. Next, I am not going to take a chance. I have 2 cards of the scientist. The scientist is 2 cards towards 4 of a cure towards blue, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I'm going to break my set. I'm going to go to Paris, and I'm going to take that cube out just in case I get another early epidemic out of the player deck. Let's see what I get. Oh man, I could have been even closer to a blue cure, but those are the trade-offs in this game. I like to think of it as short-term, long-term. I made a short-term play and foregone, whatever. Some of the long-term by splitting up my set, but I hope that pays off for me. Speaking of yellow, Lagos and Buenos Aires, 2 yellow cities, making it that much harder to do what I got to do. So the researcher doesn't have a lot of options. Has one lowly card, doesn't want to give it up because the medic could use it. So we are going to work on this eradication. So we're going to go 1, 2, down to Buenos Aires, and then 3. So then 3 to Buenos Aires, and then 4 cleans 2 cubes with 1 action because this disease is cured. All right, let us see what I get. Okay, a little bit of a mixed bag over here. Not terrible because I like the researcher to have diversity to be able to get the right card to the right character. All right, let us go ahead and pick another 2 cards. One in Seoul. This upper region over here seems to be building up from neglect. And Washington. So continuing to put pressure on blue, and it has its 3rd cube over here, Washington. That's no good. You notice that I've gotten 0 black. Sometimes I've had games where I get the cure for the, whatever region has nothing, and I get that eradication early, but this is not one of those games. All right, it is the medic's turn for 1 action. Let's get rid of that. And I think I'm going to do it for the eradication. I'm going to break my set. I have 4 cards, but I'm going to use one of them. I'm down to 3 red cards. Because it is the same exact city, I can take a charter flight. So the charter flight is going to be to Santiago. As soon as they enter Santiago, they are going to clean that. So then that is 1 action, 2 actions, 3 actions for Lima. I am almost there. And actually, I'm going to stay there. The reason is because if I were to get a card from the affection deck that put another cube on Lima, then it wouldn't actually land because the medic is there. It just kind of like pre-clears everything if they're on the city and the disease is cured. So now leave Lima there, and I'm going to rely on whoever is next or after the scientist, because the scientist is busy, to get over to Lagos. All right, so here's the medic's hand with 3 red. And let's see what I get a 4th, but I would have gotten a 5th. No! I could have had it next turn. Well, maybe they'll get it after the researcher's turn. Boy, this disease tech doesn't let up, does it? We have a card in Bogota, and we have a card in Miami. And we're still going through the original set that I had, so I knew that these cards were coming out. 4 actions. That's very easy. We're going to clear out Paris. We're going to move over here. We're going to break up Madrid. I don't like the presence of all these cubes over here because that just spells outbreak if I get the wrong epidemic, but there's only so much that the scientist can do. I'm about due for another epidemic. What does everybody think? We got, a 3rd blue card and a, maybe, for flying purposes, that yellow card. All right, so 2 cards, Santiago and Baghdad. So we have Santiago down there, Baghdad over here. My geography is on point from thousands of games of Pandemic. All right, so I'm a bit zoomed out over here because I want to show you my choices. So then the researcher has 2 delicious options. They could discard this Washington card, get straight to Washington and just get rid of all that to mitigate any potential outbreak over there. However, I am playing an elimination challenge. Fast cures. So then I noticed that the scientist is over here with 3 blue cards. So instead of all that, we are going to go 1, 2, share knowledge 3 for a very quick 2nd cure. And hopefully I'm in range for a 3rd if I can get cards over to the medic. And why not? When in doubt, clear a cube. Why not? So that is, I'm gambling over here, totally gambling. I'm hoping that it pays off eventually, and I dodge forward, and I'm able to get these cures in before too much cubes flood the board. All right, let me see what I get. That is a second red. Maybe that'll be helpful. And, ooh, I was expecting that debit card right there. All right, looks like we are going back to the other side of the world. Here for Bangkok and Delhi. You know something? I haven't gotten a single special event yet. I'm really bothered by that. But we have this over here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 with the medic. And I am feeling really good about the state of the board right now. Although I am bothered by the fact that I have not eradicated yellow yet. All right, so the medic will likely have to discard a card or two. Only one card to discard. Hey, airlift. I just talked about that. Definitely getting rid of Los Angeles because that is about to be an eradicated disease, hopefully. So we're going to get rid of that. But we are going to have to deal with an epidemic. First things first, move the infection marker. It is still 2. Let us see where the new disease lands in Mumbai. Okay, we're finally getting spreading out a little bit. That's actually not terrible for me. Mumbai is down here in India. All right, let's see. We got 1 in Baghdad. Good. And 1 in Santiago. My yellow cubes are continuing to haunt me. All right, it is the scientist's turn. This is not something that I would do in a regular game, but this is the eradication challenge. We're making a different set of choices, much riskier choices. So then I'm going to clean that cube out for 1, and then I am going to go 2, 3, clear. And because I got that airlift card, that's what I get for whining at the deck. It made me happy. Play anytime, not an action. Out of turn, I could play anytime. I could fly any character, and that is going to be the medic, and they're going to go down to Santiago. Look at that. 1 eradicated disease. And I mark the occasion with a giant, how you like me now? So the medic full well is sitting with a cure in their hand. But I had to get that eradication in. All right, so, well, 5th card. That's going to do me not too much good, but I'll go ahead and get rid of that yellow anyway. Completely useless. And 1 quiet night. All right. So let us go and get rid of, get over here, red. Red is being taken care of by other players. All right, let's see what the infection deck gives me. Delhi, not too shabs. Okay, and Mumbai. Boom! I eradicate one thing, but then the other thing gets revenge. Delhi, and this is no good at all. Black was so clear for the longest time, and now it just has everything. But I have, hopefully I will not get a epidemic, and I will get a whole bunch of these cards flooding the zone with yellow, so I can give myself some time to get there. All right, so this is what I was talking about with risk. By moving the medic down to Santiago, he took himself way out of trading range. So the researcher cannot get medic the 5th red card. So the medic is just going to look at their own resources. They're going to take a look at Delhi. Going to have to get rid of it. That's a very valuable card to get rid of because I haven't gotten that cure yet. But seeing Delhi like this next to Mumbai is making me nervous. So I'm just going to go there and wipe it out. All right, let's see what the researcher gets. They get a useless yellow and a valuable black. Oh, a Mumbai. That's also a pretty good card to have. All right, so we get a cube in Bangkok. And, and even better, they don't get removed from the deck. They stay in here. So they're just kind of dead cards. And that's why I love getting early eradication. That's why I prioritize that. Awesome. All right, so the medic is up. They have 4 red cards, but they're going to think ahead. They have this London card right there. And they're going to go ahead and move from Santiago to London, thinking ahead because the scientist has the blue cure. So then we are going to set up in the proper cities. So that was 2, 3, 4. And hopefully by the time the next turn comes around, then they can sweep through and eradicate blue. And maybe I'll get dealt another red card. Who knows? Oh, a black card. That sounds good. And resilient population. Plenty time, not an action. Remove one card from the infection discard pile. That's really nice to mitigate. If something comes out of the bottom of the deck and I don't feel like dealing with it, then resilient pop, bam. Get rid of that and not have to deal with it for the rest of the game. All right, so let's take a look at what I get. I get some Madrid, which I was preparing for when I put the medic where it was. And Buenos Aires, too bad. Yes. It is the scientist's turn. They have 5 blue cards, and they're going to use one of them to get where we want to go. We're going to use Washington for a direct flight right there. We are going to go to Atlanta. We are going to take these blue cards and discard them, and we have achieved a second cure. Heck yeah. So she's actually going to stay in Atlanta. I might get dealt a couple of black cards and might get the researcher over there. So even though I have one action left, it's good to just park myself at a research station and see if anything good happens. All right, give me something good. That's so okay, all right? And that's terrible. All right, the game is not going to give me everything that I want. Let's go ahead. Still pulling 2 cards. Soul, that was expected. I don't know what I'm going to deal with that, but we'll see. And Washington, man, I was all set to get some eradication going on blue, but the deck has other plans for me. All right, so let us continue our worldwide mitigation efforts. We are going to go here. We're going to cure 3. I would kind of position myself to get closer to people, but I have this Mumbai card. I don't want to get rid of it, but if I need it, I can use it next turn to get whatever I need. So it's nice to be parked there and give myself options for next turn. Even though Soul has 3, I'm not worried. Eradication challenge, you got to take some risks. Let's see what I get. Garbage, wheel garbage, and more garbage. Dangerous garbage, toxic garbage. No! Epidemic. All right, we're going to move the infection marker to 3. We're going to check out what is under it. Hotlanta. Wow, a mixed blessing right there. Mixed because A, the scientist is there, and B, it's cured, but it is still dangerous. So I want to, again, try to hold out to see if I can eradicate the blue on the scientist's turn. We'll see if I'm successful. So let us go ahead and shuffle up what is in the discard pile. A couple of yellows, not as many yellows as I wanted there to be, but that's okay. Soul is in there. I got to look out for that. But to help me in my eradication of blue attempts, I'm going to play One Quiet Night right now and not pull from the infection deck. I should put everything on film, shouldn't I? So I had shuffled up and I put my card on the top. However, I played this resilient population and I'm removing Soul from the deck. This goes out of the game, and so that has no chance of popping unless somehow this makes it outbreak, but it won't have a card in the infection deck anymore. All right, we're going to go for it, baby. Here we go. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be really easy had I not gotten that second outbreak. But unfortunately, I did. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and hopefully I can hold out until the scientist goes, and then we'll get the eradication. All right, so as noted in the rewind that I put earlier in the video, I had used the resilient population card on Soul. So Soul will not come up on the deck. It will sit there at 3 and not do anything. So that's cool. All right, Johannesburg, garbage. Don't need it. Tehran, I will keep, and I can hold that in my hand. However, I'm only going to be able to do one of them, so something is going to get discarded. All right, so let's see what I get. Miami, ha! Get out of here. Don't like you, Miami. Not going to get you. Come on, not Atlanta, not Atlanta. One city over, Washington. Fantastic. So we are going to do that, and we're just going to start the scientist's turn. That's super easy. We are going to go 1, treat. Bam. 2, 3, treat. Bam. The second zone has been eradicated. Get out of there. Bam. 2 out of 4. Let's go ahead and pull more useless cards and an epidemic. I had a feeling this was happening. That second epidemic was late, or the third epidemic was late, and now the fourth one is going to be early. Hopefully I get either a blue or a yellow so I don't have to put cubes on the board. All right, moment of truth time, everybody. Let's see what we got. We got Johannesburg. Yes! Eliminated. So this actually illustrates the challenge of doing the eradication challenge. Had this been in the place where that they weren't eradicated, I only have two cards in the deck. It's a function of getting the early epidemic and also using that one the one quiet night card. So that's a risk. All risk to take it. But the risk paid off because these are the next three cards that are going to show up, and they are all in eradicated cities. Boom! I am well on my way, baby. We'll see if I can actually execute. This is going to come down to a pretty exciting ending because I got to clean all those cubes and I have to get the cards in the right place, but I'm feeling much better about my prospects there. All right, we are coming up on the end game. Not too many plays left. So I said the yellow cards were useless, and I stand by that for the most part, except what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Lagos from the researcher. So they're going to move one. Go to Lagos. There it is right there. We're going to go 2. We're going to go 3. And finally, after all this time, we are going to trade a red card to the medic. I do not like that I am trading red or discarding black cards, I should say, but there is not much choice with a 7-card hand limit. But there are plenty of black cards in the discard. I'm hopeful that the researcher gets a third black card in their hand. Not very useful now except for traveling, and a third black card. Fabulous. I am set up for my end game of getting the cures that I want. All right, so we're going to pull 3, and we have a nice, decent, clear runway. Atlanta, that's too bad. Baghdad, what? No! No. Don't do that, no. Bangkok, no! Come on, I had to eradicated cities. Go bother them. Oh, man, this is going to be pretty exciting towards the end. All right, medic's turn. So in theory, I could go back to Atlanta, but I have neglected making research stations the entire time. The board geometry has defeated me. So then we are going to finally get to that research station. We're going to go 1, 2. We are going to discard Istanbul to make a research station right there so that we are close to Baghdad and we can clear that effectively. And we are going to go ahead and discard 5 cards and get the cure for red. That is the end of the medic's turn. See what happens, see how thin this deck is. I'm really coming down to the wire on this one. We have Essen. There's going to be more and more useless cards here. I'm just kind of pulling for mobility at this point. Baghdad is an excellent card to get. Fantastic. So I can go there, clean it, and then have mobility to go into red. Wow. Let's see if I can pull this off. All right, we got the 3. We got Mumbai, which was nice and clean thanks to the efforts of the researcher. Santiago, which I don't care about. Go ahead and enjoy yourself. Sun and fun, Santiago. It is clean of disease. And Delhi, well, that's too bad. Not quite as lucky as I was hoping with the eradication percentage coming in the late game, but I think I can do it. It is a scientist's turn, and once again, I'm going to think in terms of eradications in mind. If I wanted to just win, then I would just go towards the researcher and take their black cards, but I want to win and remove all the cubes. So we're going to go 1, 2 to Mexico City. The reason I'm going to Mexico City is I have this useless card, and then I'm going to fly over to Baghdad and begin working on getting rid of the cubes there. And I may draw some black cards and or events. I haven't gotten a lot of events. I've gotten half the events. There are still 3 left all the way at the bottom of the deck. Forecast, that will come in very, very handy at the last pull when I get this last epidemic. All right, 3, Madrid. That's too bad. Buenos Aires, that's too bad. This is where I feel satisfied. Yeah, Bogota, yeah! Clean the world. Make it a better place. It is now the researcher's turn, who is sitting in Madrid, but not for long, because they are going to discard Hong Kong and get over to red. Once again, I could win the game, if I wasn't going for this challenge, but I want to do it, baby. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, treat. Remember that red is cured. And start heading towards black. And then we're going to see if we can hoover up as many of these black cubes as we can. That's going to be difficult to do before the end game timer because the game ends once you get your 4th cure. So you have to have a perfectly clean board in order to get credit for that 4th and final eradication. So I'm going to work on it. All right, so I got 5 cards. I'll be able to hold these cards that are coming in. Useless card and Epidemic, my last one. They came relatively early, actually. I have a decent amount of time left. Let's see how much time I have. Medic's turn, Scientist's turn, Researcher's turn, Medic's turn, Scientist's turn. 5 turns left. That reveals a really early Epidemic, but I think I can handle it. All right, if luck holds with me, it'll be a blue or a yellow. It is a red. Wah, 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 wah. Oh, well, can't be lucky for long. So at least I got 1 out of 2 on those. So then we're going to shuffle that up. We're going to move this infection rate to 4. And we're going to pick 4 cards. Before we do that, we are going to play our forecast. So then we get to look at the top 6 cards and arrange them how we want. All right, so let's see what I got over here. Taipei would have been the 6th card, and it will remain the 6th card. We're going to go ahead and put the 2 up there. I don't think it matters that much. What does matter is having Taipei last. So at least I was able to make sure that Taipei was last and that it would not pop. Had it exploded in a burst, then the eradication challenge would have been over. But luckily, I was able to avoid that fate. Let's go ahead and get Santiago, Miami out of the way. Bangkok is going to get 1. That's unavoidable. And Mumbai is going to get 1. That is unfortunate. All right, so this is going to really coming down to the last moment. I'm going to do the best that I can. We're going to go 1 down to Cairo. We're going to use the Cairo card that Medic has in their hand and go to Taipei. Actually, we're going to go to Tokyo. And then we're going to move over there. We're going to go 3, 4. The reason I did it that way is because I know Taipei is coming up, and I want the Medic here to block it. And I tried to figure out how, because Medic is going to have 1 more turn, and I tried to figure out how they can get to multiple places. I need to draw another card in order to make that happen. So let's see what I draw. Okay, that's Beijing. Actually, that should help. Actually, it does help. Okay, good. And so Santiago, use this card, but I think Beijing will help me out. All right, so let's see. I know these first 2 cards, so we're going to go to Delhi. I think that's going to be the end of me. Look at all these cubes. I'm just not going to have enough actions for that. Taipei is clean because the Medic is there. All right, we got 2 more that I don't know. Washington and Bogota. That's great. I'm not dancing, though, like I was before, because victory is very much in doubt. Okay, the Scientist is going to cure black on her last turn. So in the meantime, we're going to clear some cubes. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and just pray that I have enough actions to do this. Really help the action economy if I was dealt black cards. Wow. The opposite of what I'm looking for. All right, 4 cards. Buenos Aires, not going to do me any good. Madrid, no good. Baghdad, no! I needed that eradication. No! And Johannesburg, there you go. All right, I really don't think I'm going to get this 4th eradication, but I'll at least go for the 3. So then we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And we are going to actually go 4. So we're just going to pray that we get the right cards, which are probably not going to come. I don't have too much faith in that, but who knows? Hail Mary time, right? And we are going to pull. There are 2 black cards. So that is wonderful if the Researcher was going to get another turn, which they are not. So at this point, all I'm hoping for is no red cards. So Atlanta, so no Tokyo, basically. So then Atlanta, Lagos, Paris, and Lima, nothing. That's beautiful. It is the medic's turn. They're going to go 1, 2, get rid of Seoul. We're going to go to Beijing. Remember, I pulled the Beijing card last turn. And we are going to go down to Bangkok and get our third eradication. Bang! All right. So some of the reasons why I made the choices that I made, because I know the last 2 cards. The last 2 cards are both events. Woo! Government grant and re-examine and research. So the 5 events that you saw were from the base game. I put in this one because of the rule that says you put in 2 events per character. So this is from the expansion. I'm going to use them both here. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give a black card from the discard pile to the scientist. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use government grant to put a research station in Mumbai. So that is how I'm able to get to the cure. Let's see what happens. I mean, the game is over, but I'm going to just round it out anyway. Tokyo, look at that, eradicated. Los Angeles, Karachi, just to put some stand in there, all right on top of the scientists too. And San Francisco. So I'm not going to show the board. We're just going to go down 1. We're going to take 2 cards from the researcher, and we are going to cure black. There are those 4 cubes, but the rest of the world is safe from disease. I remember that a lot of people saying that they didn't like playing Pandemic during the COVID pandemic in real life because it just reminds them. But for me, look at that. This reminds me of, or at least gives me a image of a world free of disease. So let me sit in my fantasy for a little bit, but I will be back soon with another playthrough of Pandemic, the first expansion. So I will have purple cubes and I'll have special epidemics for you in the next video. So until next time, this is Jason reminding you that we'll see you at the next stop.